Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll bring you the new Skidrow Hardpoint spawns. There was a little bit of an update a few days ago now where they added new spawns to the hills, and we're just going to be covering it as a completely new guide as if it never happened before, just so if you guys missed this or you want a recap on this, it's going to contain every little bit of information you may have missed or I may have skipped over on the previous Hardpoint spawn guide. So stay around to the end. It's going to tell you how to influence spawns, how to break spawns, and how the best to play each hill to win more matches on this map. For those of you who are new to this series, if you somehow have missed the rest of the spawn guides, the circles are the spawn points themselves, and the shaded areas are how to block said spawn. So say, for example, you want to block the blue spawn, you have to be either in the shaded area or in view or in the spawn point itself. So don't forget, it's not just the spawn points, shaded areas that will block the spawn. If you are also in sight of the spawn or in the spawn itself, that will obviously be blocking it. So kicking off with P1 here, it's fairly similar, but there are now three main spawns on this hill: pink, blue, and teal. And the squad spawns are the main influencer here. So if you have more teammates pushed towards tunnel or barber side, you're going to spawn blue. On the other side, if you have more teammates pushed towards the blue door or P3, you're pretty much going to spawn pink. And then if you have people already at forklift or going through to new at P2, sorry, it opens up the teal spawns. Now, yellow spawn is simply a secondary spawn to teal. So if someone in the enemy team is pushed towards the bottom mid or around the ticket area, you'll then spawn yellow instead of teal. Now, blocking spawns can also influence where you spawn, so it's not purely based on teammates on this hill. So, for example, if you have enemies blocking all spawns apart from pink, you're going to spawn pink, and then as a result, you'll be anchoring the spawns towards pink for your team, and then you'll be getting the squad spawns at pink because you've just spawned there because the enemy's just blocked all the other spawns. So if you spawn blue and you have teammates here, that'll be why. If not, it's because enemies are pushing new and P3 and blocking these other spawns. Now, if you are spawning pink and you have teammates here, again, that will be why. If not, it's because enemies are pushing towards tunnel and P2. And similarly, if you spawn teal and you have teammates around you, that'll be why you've spawned there. But if you've spawned there and no one else is with you, it's because enemies are pushing through tunnel and P3. Now, if you spawn yellow, it's the exact same reason as why you spawn teal, but it also means that an enemy is pushing teal and blocking towards the teal spawn itself. So just be aware that if you are spawning yellow, it does mean there's going to be a little bit of pressure towards your way from pretty much every angle you can imagine. The best thing to do on this hill is to try and hold pink spawns to obtain P1 time. This is the best spawn to have for P1 time itself. However, you can also far easily anchor spawns towards P2 now for the P2 rotation with a new update. So I'd start to work if you are getting pink spawns through tickets and towards this P5 and around this P5 general area, really to obtain spawns for P2, and then watch for anyone coming through tunnel who might be spawning in the blue area. Moving on to P2 here, the main spawns similarly are pink and blue. I haven't said this already, but the guides generally, pink spawns are better, blue spawns are worse, and then if the yellows and teals are pretty much just alternative spawns to both of those. So the main spawns are pink and blue. Pink's obviously better, in my opinion, because once you get pink spawns and you get to P2 from pink, it's far easier to trap them in tunnel, and it's new spawns for P3 as well. Now, there is a little bit of an argument here. It's a little bit 50-50. If you have blue spawns, it's easy to get to P2. It's less time to get to P2. But it's so much easier to get trapped in tunnel here if someone on the pink team has managed to get P2 spawns. So that's why I sort of prefer the spawns this side, just because it's much easier to hold it from this side once you get P2. You get trapped in tunnel, and then you also have spawns for P3. So yeah, that's why personally I prefer that. So the new spawns they've added are around pink, so it's pretty much the same. The only other new spawn they have, which might be noticeable for you guys, is a spawn back bar, which is in this teal, but it's very minor. It's not much different from the original spawn itself, and that's basically a secondary spawn to blue. So yeah, that's why you would be spawning there. So let's say you're spawning pink, enemy's going to be spawning blue, and if you're spawning blue, the enemy's going to be spawning pink. Now, if you spawn yellow, it means that enemies are blocking both pink and blue spawns. And now if you spawn teal, it means that the enemy team are spawning pink, but they're pushed out middle a little bit. They're playing a little bit more aggressive towards your spawn. So as a result, you're spawning in that teal zone. So that's generally the gist of, if you spawn teal, it means that the enemy team are spawning P3, and they've put a little bit of pressure towards middle. So just be aware that you might have someone closer spawn when you do spawn in teal. Moving over towards P3, the main spawns again are pink and blue. Pink is clearly the better spawn here because it's far closer to the P3 hill, and it gives you better spawns for P4, which is in the Barber over here. The new spawns are mainly dotted around the blue ring, so not much change there. However, there's a new spawn deeper apps where originally it was sort of top apps. Now it's further deeper apps just to make it a little bit more of an even hill for both sides. Now, if pink is blocked, you'll spawn yellow, and if blue is blocked, you'll spawn teal. It's a bit of a weird situation why you'd want to block this anyway, but that is a secondary spawn to blue. Now, if you spawn pink, it generally means the enemy has no control over this half of the map, and they haven't got to point yet either. If you spawn yellow, means the enemy is either on P3, and as a result, you're spawning a little bit further out, or pushing through laundry to pinch the spawn. So just be very careful. If you spawn yellow and they're not on the hill, and the enemy team aren't on the hill, it means they've put a little bit of pressure through the hill, and they're like sort of pushing laundry, or they're sort of broken through this halfway line over the map. Now, if pink is blocked, you'll spawn yellow, and if blue is blocked, as I say, you'll spawn teal. Now, if you spawn pink, it means that, as I say, the enemy has control over this side. Now, if you spawn blue, it's not because it's basically because the enemy team are spawning the other side. So there's no real sign. If you spawn blue, it means the enemy team are spawning in pink. That's the general gist of it. That's all you really need to take from that spawn. Now, if you happen to spawn teal, it generally means that someone is doing the exact same thing. They've got control of this general area, but they've decided to push through garage as well. So just be very aware that if you spawn teal and then you just, check your bottom garage as you run into P3, because there's a chance that that's why someone's there. Now, you really want to fight for the pink spawns here early on and then push to the point from here. But you want to try and rotate early towards tunnel to cut off the map from blue spawners when you move over towards P4 as well. So that's a nice way to get easy kills and, delay their push a little bit towards the new hill. But yeah, you really want to fight for these pink spawns, because they are so pivotal in winning this hill and the next hill. So talking in the next hill here, we're on to the Barber Hill, P4. And again, the main spawns are pink and blue. Preferred spawns for me are pink because it's just an easier spawn for P4. If you're on the hill as the pink team, all you really need to do is watch tunnel, maybe spiral, and maybe bottom mid. So it's a very easy way to just single out where they're going to be coming from. The only downside to the Sphinx spawns is that it's the furthest away from new, which is pretty much where the blue spawn is. But that's why you're going to want to try and flip towards the very end of this hill to get the better spawns for P5. But that's all about just playing Hardpoint better generally. Now, the teal spawn is secondary to blue, and the yellow spawn is the secondary one to pink. So if they're blocking pink, you'll spawn yellow. If they're blocking blue, you'll spawn teal, that sort of thing. Now, if you spawn yellow, that basically tells you the enemy's coming from blue, because that's where they've spawned. But they're also on the hill or pushed through P4 itself. So if you spawn yellow and you notice the enemy is on the hill, that'll be why you've spawned there. If you spawn yellow and you notice the enemy isn't quite in the hill, it means they're blocking pink spawn either by visuals, they're either looking in laundry from somewhere, or they're pushed through P4 itself, and they're getting into your cheeks in apps and this general area over here. Now, if you spawn teal, it means that the enemy team are pretty much spawning pink, but are also blocking blue spawns. So that can pretty much tell you that they're going to be pushing through P4 to new. So yeah, if you spawn teal and they're on P4, that'll be why. You will spawn. You do get rewarded for being on the hill on P4. It does spawn the enemy further out. Obviously, let's look at both situations here. If the blue team are on the hill, pink team will spawn yellow. If the pink team are on the hill, the blue team will spawn teal. So it does spawn them in Narnia. Now, the best thing to do is obviously to obtain the pink spawns off the rip and then hold the cuts from the blue spawn. So holding tunnel and sort of the middle area. Now, when it gets to like 30, 20 seconds or so, you want to try and push new and try and get the blue spawns. But the most efficient way to do this is to actually try and get to the teal spawns first and then get to the blue spawns and kill any blue spawners from behind. The problem you'll have if you, let's say you manage to get to P4 and you try and break P4 and you decide to run down tunnel. Now, what you're doing here is in fact spawning the enemy pretty much, you're blocking blue at this point. So what you're doing by pushing tunnel is spawning them pretty much on P5. So it's almost closer to the hill here. Whereas if you decide to take a route through mid, go through garage and pinch tickets, generally they're not going to be expecting this. And you're going to be, you block this teal spawn, but then you're also, as soon as you get into P5, you're pretty much going to be blocking the blue spawn anyway, because you're going to be able to see the spawn. And as a result, that's going to be the best way to flip them over towards this app side. Now, the final hill of the map is P5. And again, the main spawns are pink and blue, which is one is in tunnel and one sort of in the P3 area. It does, you can spawn across this whole P3, but I've just got one circle here to you know, symbolize that spawn point. Now, the secondary spawn to both of these is teal, and if teal, blue, and pink are blocked, it opens up yellow, but it's a very rare situation that'd happen. So don't remember it if you don't have to, is what I'm trying to say. So you can block the pink spawn by being in P2, P5, or push through tunnel side. And this will obviously then spawns the enemy's P3. Now, if you push the P3 whilst holding P5, it will spawn the enemy's teal. So the default spawn, if you've got hill control, is going to be blue. So the enemy team, if you've pretty much got the hill, they're going to be spawning in the blue area. So you need to pretty much focus all your attention over to here. Similarly, if you spawn blue, you're going to be fighting a battle towards P5. But yeah, so that's why that would happen. So if you spawn teal, what does that tell you? This tells you that an enemy is pushed, is on P5 or P2, or generally blocking the pink spawn here, but they've also decided to push through P3 and they're in this area here. So if they somehow get parallel spawns for whatever reason, that's a situation in which you spawn teal. But generally speaking, it's only going to happen if someone on P5 decides to, you know, let's get up in their cheeks a little bit, let's try and get a little bit more aggressive here, and they decide to push P3 as well as holding spawn, holding the point, and as a result, as I say, you're going to spawn it's going to spawn teal. Now, if you spawn yellow, that, as I say, very rare situation, but it means that an enemy is going to be in Barber, an enemy is going to be in Tunnel P2 or P5, and an enemy is going to be in P3. So it's going to be, if you spawn yellow, it's mixy. They're going to be coming from each side, so just be very aware to have your gun pre-aim somewhere. They're probably going to run into your pre-aim just from spawning here. That's just because there's going to be so many gunfights you're going to have to take fairly close to where you spawned. Now, the best thing to do to obtain most hill control here is to push out the P3 spawn. So you want to try and get the hill control first. So you want to win your gunfights. That's the start of every sort of hill break. Win your gunfights towards the hill itself. So if you spawn in blue, you know, play a little bit unpredictable. Try and throw your nades, use your stuns, nades, break P5. And once you get into P5, play for the kills. It will spawn the enemy behind you at blue, unless you've got a teammate there, and in which case it will spawn them teal. So just be very wary of where your teammates are when you're pushing this P5, because it will determine where they spawn afterwards. Now, once you do have hill control, it is ideal to spawn them teal. You want that spawn. It's a far spawn away. The only entry to P5 is pretty much running through tunnel or through middle, so it's a long way for them to get to you, and it, like, you know, isolates them into 2 line of sights pretty much. But it also means they get the really, really crap spawns at P1, which is obviously the next hill after P5. So in order to do that, get P5 control, as I say, just from winning the gunfights, winning the nades or whatever, and then from P5, whilst someone is also obtaining P5 control, have someone push through P3. They'll be blocking then pink and blue, and as a result, they'll spawn teal. That's what you want to do. So you'll have one on the hill, one already on P3, and then the 2 other people can pretty much just be watching tunnel and, you know, maybe bottom middle, just to see if that's where they're going to be coming from. And that's probably the best way to set up for P5. And then obviously when it gets to 20-30 seconds, rotate back all the way with the teammates towards P3, and then chow P1 from here. So that's going to do it. Obviously, if you ever any questions, if you've got really specific situations that you find yourself in that means you're spawning in a certain area and you're not sure where you would be spawning, feel free to drop a comment down and below. And if you have any sort of suggestions or tips of other series you want me to do, obviously I'm doing my map guides where I do line of sights and things like that. Just give me a shout down below. Obviously, you can join the Discord. This will be documented with text at the bottom of it in my Discord. It'll be in the Spawn Guide channel in it. So feel free to join the Discord, say hello. You'll be able to view this, share it amongst your team, share it amongst your mates so that you're all on the same wavelength. But yeah, that'll do from today. It's a fairly short video for a Spawn Guide, but you're going to know most of it anyway because it's Skidrow Hardpoint. It's a very basic spawny map, if that's even a thing. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Ciao for now.